Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies here at RacineSportsZone.com. I'm Sparky Fifer from the Wendy's Big Show. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on 105.7 FM The Fan and AM 1250. He, of course, Gery Woelfel, columnist for the Racine Journal-Times. Sandwiched in between us is Coach Betker from Racine Park. We talk some high school basketball. Coach, thanks for coming in.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I guess when people think of Park, they're going to think of the Days brothers, obviously, one over the other. But the youngest of the two, Nobal Days, is going to be the guy that everybody's probably going to be watching this year to see his progression as a young player.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement. They're great kids. You know, you talk about true student athletes, and you talk about Kai and Nobal Days, and it's just an honor to have them on my team and have the ability to coach them. And we look for great things this year from both of them.
Well, when you talk about Nobal Days, what does he bring to the floor? Obviously, defensively, he's there. Offensively, maybe still coming along?
Yeah, he's long. You know, he alters a lot of shots, and I always really see the block shots in it. Rebounding, he's averaging 15 rebounds already. He's played 2 games. Rolled his ankle.
Again.
15.
Yeah.
I heard it. Yeah.
As a freshman.
Yeah.
And he rolled his ankle in the first game of the season, and at that point he had already had 13 rebounds, 9 points, 9 assists. So the stat stuffer, long, makes everyone around him better. You know, that's the thing he can do. He passes well. High basketball IQ. So
unselfish?
Very unselfish. This team is, and that's why I think as a coaching staff we're very excited for how unselfish this team plays.
Yeah, to me, I was talking to Steve about this before. It seems to me that his defense is really further along than his offense. That he is already, in my mind, a dominating defensive type player.
He's going to alter shots. You're 6'9", long.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, the offense will come. You know, and that's even in practice.
Right.
As coaches, we're not real worried about our offense right now because we know eventually, you know, someone's going to shoot, someone's going to make the pass. They're so unselfish. You know, now we're cleaning things up after the first few games, coming off picks a little bit better, setting picks, not getting pushed off the block, you know, establishing ourselves at the blocks. But the team's so unselfish with a high basketball IQ. It's been a pleasure, even though we're only 3 games into the season.
Yeah, you know what I think is the best attribute of Nobal? I just want to get your opinion first. What do you think?
Well, he's a great student athlete. So
there you go, smoking like a true coach.
Straight A student, you know, polite. Yes, he is.
And Kai's straight A student too.
Correct.
Right?
These are kids that have, you know, high GPAs, and it's nice to have the talent and the grades. And these are kids that will be successful after high school.
The one aspect that just blew me away, though, for a freshman, is this outlet passing.
Sure.
To me, he is the best high school outlet passer I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and I've only seen one game, but he had 4 or 5 passes almost to midcourt or further, and they weren't just like I'm going to throw them out there. He spotted a guy and he threw it out there, and like
it's
I said,
nice to
I haven't
score.
seen Diamond Stone or any of those guys have that kind of passing potential.
Well, and that mentality of let's push, you know, because we're looking at early offense, we're trying to get quick offense right away, and you know we've talked with them too about if those outlets are covered. You know, to take it, his ball handling skills are remarkable for being 6'9". You know, when Karan was at Park, when you're 6'7", and I felt like when you had the ability to create shots for yourself or somebody else with your ball handling skills, there's a future in basketball. And like I said, he's an outstanding student athlete, obviously raised by great parents. Great brother, and his future is extremely bright.
You guys are a fairly young basketball team this year?
Very young. We have 4 freshmen on varsity as well as 2 sophomores, and you know they're all in the mix in playing time. What's nice about this team is it doesn't have to be one guy, and pretty much every game that we've played, a couple kids have been leaders. You know, and I'm talking about statistically because for us, we're not worried about stats in general, but our first game, Kai and Prentice McGowan, our 2 seniors, led us, you know, in the score box. Following game was Marcus Caldwell, a sophomore, as well as Larry Kennedy, who's a freshman. Next game was Rance Kendrick.
And he came out of nowhere. I mean, I was at that game, and I was looking at these other guys, and all of a sudden, Kendrick's at times is, you know, your dominant player on the floor.
Sure, him and DeMonte Hudson. DeMonte's a freshman. You know, so there's a sophomore, freshman, and our seniors obviously have been great leaders. And I'm happy for those kids that have been in my program for 4 years. Kai Days, Prentice McGowan, Trey Granberry have been with me for 4 years. And I also have Tiberius Watkins, who's a senior, that it's just, I'm happy for them that we get such a nice group of kids that are young and really understand the game. And it's been a pleasure this season.
Well, you beat me to the punch. I was going to talk about those two seniors, Days and McGowan. To me, Days has a little more nasty in him this year. I mean, he seems like he's a little more physical, a little more aggressive. Is that a fair assessment?
I believe both of them.
Yeah.
I truly believe there's that sense of urgency because it seems like yesterday, these guys came in and they came in following a year where I believe I had 15 seniors, and they were kind of thrown to the wolves, so to speak.
Yeah.
As in, you're going to be in here, you're going to have to be leaders as freshmen, and that's tough for kids.
Heck yeah.
These kids are 14, 15 years old to say, hey, we need you to step up and be leaders already. In a sense, sometimes those younger kids are looking for the leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I give those two kids credit because they've been with me for 4 years. A pleasure to have on my team, and they've had a little roller coaster record-wise. We struggled a little bit their freshman year. Sophomore year, we had a very good year. Their junior year wasn't like we wanted. We talked about finding ways to win. This team already has found, up at Beaver Dam. Beaver Dam's a very good team. We were up only a couple late in the game, and
You won by what,
we
11?
ended up winning by 11.
Yep.
And I think we outscored them 9 in the final minute and a half. But it's nice to see us finally win those games,
Sure.
whereas last year we kind of found ways to lose games rather than win them.
Well, I think one of the toughest things for you as a coach is you got so many young players, and they all want their time, where they're the guy on the floor, and you got 5 or 6 guys that can go one-on-one, and there's a tendency to over-dribble and not pass. But I thought the game I saw, again, you moved the ball for the most part pretty well, that you were willing to find the open player.
I believe our first game we had 33 assists.
There you go.
And as long as, the kids keep buying in and believing that, and it seems that way, that it's not about you, and
Right.
you're playing, and you look at some of the teams in college that don't put the names on the jersey because you're playing for the jersey.
Right.
The name on the front rather than the back.
Yeah.
And as long as the kids have that mentality and continue to share, things, will be bright for us.
Who in your mind is the team to beat in the Southeast Conference? Is there one team that stands out, or do you think it's
There's
a cluster of
I think
teams?
there's a handful of kids up
Yeah.
on top, or teams, up top. Oak Creek at Oak Creek is going to be tough. No shot clocks in this game. And
Can you bring a book to your game and read it while the game's going on?
I'll tell you right now, you better be
Magazine.
patient and
Yeah.
pay attention and be focused on defense, because I tell you right now, they'll hold it for 18 minutes possibly for one shot. I don't think they would mind a 2-0 lead at the end of the half.
But that gives them a chance to win games when maybe they don't have as much talent as the other team.
That's possible.
Kind of like the Dick Bennett Badger teams back in the day.
Big time, and Coach Josie does an outstanding job with his program there at Oak Creek. Horlet's talented. Case, I know they lost a lot of kids over the last couple of years, but that's inner city. Those kids are going to be ready to play when they play us. So I truly believe, ITA, great, another program that has been solid, did very well last year. They made it to the Final 8 in the state Division 1. Coach Anderson does a nice job with those kids out there, and that's why I was pleased with our win Friday against them, because we still have room to improve. As much as we won by the
you guys
amount,
got a big upside.
there's
no doubt.
and we got a tough weekend. We got Morton East out of Chicagoland area. They got a very good team. Randy Borgart's a principal down
There
at
you
that
go.
school, and Randy's an all-state football player out of Park. He used to teach at Park, helped me with my freshman team. So we're excited to see those guys this weekend. This weekend's a test for our kids.
Where's that game at?
Saturday's at Park, and then Friday night we're at Oak Creek.
Right.
So we got our hands full this
Well,
weekend.
they come from Chicago up here. That's good.
We went down there last year. They were great to us, fed the kids, and after the game, because former student teacher coaches the basketball team, he's the assistant, and it's always nice to see guys like that in kind of the community, and
Sure.
we're looking forward to seeing them Saturday.
I got to ask you one final topic here, and this one might get me upset.
Try not to.
Yeah, exactly. It's in regards to the WIAA's infinite wisdom to change the makeup of the game from 4 quarters to 2 halves, which I thought was absolutely ludicrous. I mean, high school basketball has been wonderful all these years, and all of a sudden we need to go to a half. And what's weird is now the colleges are going to quarters.
The women's
some
is
of the
playing quarters
colleges.
right now,
It's
yeah.
like, what's going on? First of all, why would the WIA tamper with the game, number one? And then number two, from a coaching standpoint, you're playing 18 continuous minutes now. 36 total, whereas in the past you played 32 minutes.
Correct.
So how does that affect your coaching situation?
Well, I look at early here in the season, up north, the foul trouble, early bonuses, the way they called the game up there. Holy cow, you thought by halftime we played an entire game already.
There you go.
We're in bonus with 13 minutes left in the half. Yeah, it's, but then we came
Makes
down
those games
here.
a lot longer time-wise, too.
Hey, I thought
It is. You notice it. It's, another 10, 15 minutes longer, right?
we needed to take showers. I think at halftime we felt like we played the entire game already. I was sweating. I'm like, are you kidding me? A game? We still got a half to go. But we came back here, and I think sometimes it goes on, how the game's going to be reffed and the typical, are they going to call a lot of ticky-tack or they not?
Right.
Up north, we had a lot of calls, a lot of fouls, both teams, and it was a long game. I mean, it was probably close to 2 hours.
So then when you play a team like Oak Creek, that's going to slow it down and
exactly.
do what they do.
I believe it'll speed the game up in the sense of you're going to lose that timeout between first and second quarter. The game's going to be kind of a flow. I thought we had a good flow to the game last Friday when we played Indian Trails at home. So far we've seen a little bit, both sides of it.
So do you like it so far or not?
It's been fine.
Yeah.
It does.
I mean, you didn't have any problems like tampering with the game? I mean,
no, but you do adjust. You have to adjust.
Well, sure.
We had a lot of kids in foul trouble up north, and
Yeah.
my starters pretty much were on my bench, and my bench is kind of what carried us through that first half.
The other thing that kind of irks me, just as a fan, okay, is scoring records, okay?
Oh, that's going to be...
Now all of a sudden kids are going to score more points. They're going to say they're so much better than their predecessors. You have a different timeline here, and I don't think it's fair to the people in the past.
It's real hard when you talk about that, but you also introduced the three-point line, which affects the people prior to 88 when they introduced it. And there's always going to be probably tweaks to it, but I agree with that. You're adding 4 minutes. We scored 93 against Milwaukee North.
Yeah,
they played a zone. We didn't press. It was a half-court game, and we missed 18 free throws.
There you go.
So that game could have been easily in the hundreds, and it wasn't a run-them-up, pour points on. It was against a zone defense that we moved the ball well. We hit shots. We came back. We played a solid half-court man defense, and holy cow, to put that many points up was remarkable. And you talk about scoring, it's right away you notice the difference there.
Well, one quick thing here.
That's what you said before.
I know, but I'm really curious. What was, and I haven't seen this written, why did the WIA go to this situation?
I don't know if you're just trying to add the minutes to start getting them ready for the next level. Where college you're playing.
Is that what they came out and said, or are you just speculating?
I'm speculating.
Yeah, because I haven't seen anything written or said about this.
No, and I know they did an article last year wondering how coaches felt about it. And I truly believe it can either speed up the game if you're not getting the calls, or if they're taking care of the ball, or if you're calling a lot of fouls, it makes the game extremely long.
He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. He's the old guy that doesn't like change. He is Coach Betker from Racine Park.
Old school.
I'm Sparky Fifer. We'll talk to you next time here at Sports Junkies at RacineSportsZone.com.